fitness and appointment of discharge. That I will faithfully. Okay, let's call to order this Monday, November 8th, 2021 special council meeting to order. So if you could turn off any devices or set them to vibrate, stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Short prayer. Precious Lord, dear God, we thank you for you being here with us tonight, dear God, for directing our thoughts, our actions, and we just pray for your blessings to be poured out on our community, dear God. We do pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, whenever call for the roll.
Zimmerman.
Here.
Splitzer.
Present.
Granchi.
Here.
Bariak.
Here.
Okay, we're going to, before we go into public comments, as instructed by the interim law director, we never one who did the oath of office with individuals or staff, so we're going to go ahead and go through and do that this evening. So I'd like to start off with the interim law director, Al Schrader. Step forward.
Excuse me, sir, but that's not on the agenda for tonight. We've got to stick to what's on the agenda, please.
Could you please be quiet? If you have the floor, then you can speak. I'll say aye and state your name, repeat after me. I,
Al Schrader,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm to support
or affirm to support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter of all and all ordinances of the City of Newton Falls,
the Charter and all ordinances of the City of Newton Falls,
that I will not be influenced
that I will not be influenced
by consideration except that of merit
by consideration except that of merit
and fitness in the appointment or discharge
and fitness in the appointment or discharge
of employees,
of employees,
that I will not make or authorize
that I will not make or authorize
the expenditure of public money
the expenditure of public money
otherwise than for adequate consideration
otherwise than for adequate consideration
and efficient services to Newton Falls,
and efficient service to Newton Falls,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly,
and
impartially
impartially
discharge the duties of my office
discharge the duties of my office
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Mayor.
then interim finance director Sean Housley. Do you have one? I, Sean Housley,
I, Sean Housley,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm to support
or affirm to support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of
the
Ohio,
Charter and all
the
ordinances
Charter and all ordinances
of the City of Newton
of
Falls,
the City of Newton Falls,
that I will not be influenced
that I will not be influenced
by consideration except that of merit and fitness in the appointment or discharge of employees,
by consideration except that of merit and fitness in the appointment or discharge of employees,
that I will not make or authorize the expenditure of public money
that I will not make or authorize the expenditure of public money
otherwise than for adequate consideration
otherwise than for adequate consideration
and efficient services to Newton Falls,
and efficient services to Newton Falls,
that I will faithfully,
that I will honestly
and impartially
discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my abilities,
so help me God.
so help me God.
And then interim police chief Brian Ford.
Yep.
If you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Brian Ford,
I, Brian Ford,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and all ordinances
the Charter and all ordinances
of the City of Newton Falls,
of the City of Newton Falls,
that I will not be influenced
that I will not be influenced
by consideration
by consideration
except that of merit
except that of merit
and fitness in the appointment
and fitness in the appointment
or discharge of employees,
or discharge of employees,
that I will not make or authorize
that I will not make or authorize
the expenditure of public money
the expenditure of public money
other than for adequate
consideration
and efficient service to Newton Falls,
and efficient service to Newton Falls,
and that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge
the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
Okay. Interim city manager Pam Bray. No, she got health conditions, so just go ahead and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Pam Bray, do solemnly swear or affirm to support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Ohio, the Charter and all ordinances of the City of Newton Falls, that I will not be influenced by consideration except that of merit and fitness in the appointment or discharge of employees, that I will not make or authorize the expenditure of public money otherwise than for adequate consideration and efficient service to Newton Falls, that I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially just discharge the duties of my office to the best of my abilities. So help me God. Okay, thank you. And City Clerk Kathy King's been here for 20 years or whatever. I won't spill the beans on how long, but she's never done so. We want to try to keep things consistent, so she's going to go ahead and do her work now. So repeat after me. I, Kathy King,
I, Kathleen King,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm to support
the
Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of
the
Ohio,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and all
the
ordinances
Charter and all ordinances
of the City of Newton
of the
Falls,
City of Newton Falls,
that I will not be influenced
that I will not be influenced
by consideration
by consideration
except that of merit
except that of merit
and fitness
and fitness
in the appointment or discharge,
in the appointment or discharge of employees,
that I will not make or authorize
that I will not make or authorize
the expenditure of public
the
money
expenditure of public money
otherwise than for adequate
consideration
and efficient service
and efficient service
to Newton Falls,
to Newton Falls,
that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly,
and
impartially
discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my
to the
abilities.
best of my abilities,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you. Thank you all. Just trying to keep everybody up to speed and trying to be consistent across the board. Public comments are limited to items that are identified on the agenda. So come forth. You have 3 minutes and give your name and address. Okay, if there's
Tim Stinson, 253 Arlington. In the attachments or the addendums to the new appropriations, there's a bunch of things that are concerning. I'm hoping that Mr. Finance Director, you can answer a couple of these questions. Hold on while I find it here, sorry. On line 520, the water debt, there was no previous appropriations for this fiscal year. I mean, that's almost $400,000 that weren't even appropriated to water debt. You would think that that would be set if it was water debt. And then there's another huge fund, the City Hall. You have $150,000 that were appropriated previously, and you have it zeroed out now. So I'm just wondering if that got funneled into some other fund. And then if my phone would stop jumping around, there was another huge one on here. Sorry. Line 233, local physical for $234,000 that wasn't appropriated, but now you're appropriating that almost $250,000. Just hoping to get some insight on those. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, if nobody else, we'll move into business for this evening. And number
Excuse me,
one.
Mr. Mayor, there's one more person.
No, come in.
Quick question, you guys got dismissal on part of your executive session?
Your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Brad Cope. I live at 2780 East River Road, Newton Falls Township.
What was your last name?
Cope.
C-O-P-E. Yep.
Yeah.
And I was just curious, on the executive session, you guys got dismissal checked. I was wondering who that applies to and if you could fill us in on that.
We will as we get closer to that part of the meeting.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
if there's anybody wants to talk about who's you might dismiss tonight, I think we should have an opportunity to say something.
I mean, you could speak according to the agenda, but I mean, yeah, that'll be as we move into executive session.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I guess we'll save my comments to the end.
Okay. Okay, anybody else?
Julie Lemon, 2750 East River Road. As I was going over the minutes and the agenda for tonight, and I saw all the numbers that were placed online, our city's in a sad state financially. And I racked my brain to try to figure out where and how we got here. I said last meeting that Mr. Bariak was the one to vote no on moving the $462,000, because even in the minutes it says just in case. Well, it's nice to have something just in case, but I agree with Mr. Bariak on the fact that it should have been left where it was. An emergency meeting could have been held in 10 hours. I think there was an exorbitant amount of spending going on. I think it all leads to the AMP-T deal. And that was our former administrator's way of trying to cover up his exorbitant spending. Is selling our assets. It's not right. And it's created one heck of a job for this gentleman here. From what I understand, you're doing a fantastic job, and thank you for serving our community. It's sad to see our community where it's at. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll move into the business unfinished / new. Number one, ordinance 2021-25. If Mrs. King could go ahead and read it.
Expenditures for the City of Newton Falls, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021, and authorizing the Finance Director to amend and file a certificate of resources to the County Auditor and declaring an emergency.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, I would hope Mr. Finance Director, if you could explain Section 2 for me. The City Director of Finance is hereby authorized to draw her warrants on the City Treasury for payment of the foregoing appropriations upon receiving proper certification and vouchers thereof, and no salaries or wages shall be paid except to persons employed by authority of and in accordance with law or ordinance. Can you please explain that section, please?
Sure, essentially what it says is council sets the spending authority, which is what's in the Exhibit A, and that there shall be no payments in excess of the spending authority council sets. It's part of the Ohio Revised Code. And that's part of the discussion I'd like to have tonight too, as we proceed on the vote for this. All the department heads need to be made aware that after this is approved, I'll be updating, if it's approved, I'll have to update the appropriations within the system. And before you approve an invoice or solicit an invoice from a vendor, you need to check with accounting and make sure, prepare a requisition properly, make sure that there's a budget there for it. Otherwise, you're going to have to reach back out to accounting and inform accounting what accounts you're willing to reduce to come up with the money for the items you want to purchase. And if you don't have it within your department, we're going to have to reach out to other departments and ask them if they have any extra money in their budgets that they can afford to reduce so that money can be made available to the department heads. And I'll put all the vendors on notice too in this community. Make sure you have a signed purchase order.
Does that include appointments by the city manager for extra
That's
positions that aren't?
costs.
You speak into that a little bit, sir.
Does that include appointments by the city manager to titles that aren't listed in the charter?
It's all costs. That's
Thank you.
everything. You guys set the spending authority, and it's up to me to make sure that that amount does not get exceeded.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Bray, you have the floor.
As we start to peel back the onion, the layers on the onion, and I'm going to ask directly to Mr. Housby. We bought a street sweeper for $285,000, and the budget, it wasn't even in the budget appropriated or anything. I knew that we were handed the budget a day late. It was thrown on my porch. It was passed under emergency. And now, am I speaking truthfully, sir, about you can't find it where it was? I couldn't either. 280, it's not that I'm begrudge the community, but you know, like I'd like to have this and I'd like to have that, and I'd like to, but when it gets time to the point where you can't pay your bills and people are hounding us now for money, something has gone terribly wrong in this community. And I'm hopeful we can straighten it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spletzer, Mr. Granchi, would you guys like a first address? No. Ms. Spletzer?
Yes, I will. I think something that the public needs to be aware of, and this is something we were just recently fully made aware of, because all along we've known that there's been excessive spending in the law department when it comes to outsourcing these things to Cleveland law firms. And I believe today we received information that finally gave us the grand total. The grand total is $186,909.18. That is money that was sent outside of Newton Falls to handle legal issues. And that's part of the problem that we found ourselves in.
Ms. Spletzer, do you have that form on you?
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry?
Do you have that on you?
I do.
Can you read where the numbers come from? I didn't bring it with me.
Sure. Now you want me to get a little more specific. I need these. Yes, what we were given shows that $42,629.40 was spent on the Bray Meyer recall. There were over $1,500 spent on the congregational church dispute. I don't know what that means exactly. There were $23,183.58 spent in economic development analysis and database fees. There was $32,079 spent for defense of lynch termination. There was $15,000 spent in financing of bonds from 2020. Then we have $20,575.10 that was spent on the Jim Lawanawansu referendum, and then on the court case of Lynch versus Lawanawansu, that total came up to $20,047.80, and we have $31,830.30 that just has my name by it. This was in May of 21, June of 21, July of 21. I believe that's when I was being removed by Ms. Meyer from council. That was $31,000 that the city spent. The law department, I should say.
Thank you, Ms. Spitzer.
Could I have a second?
Yeah, you have the floor, Mr. Bray.
Does anybody else want to first?
Mr. Granchi, did you want to address or no?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to first, Mr.?
He already had it first. He had it first.
All I'd like to say is, it boggled my mind that Mr. Lynch instituted the lawsuit against Jim Lawanawansu, but used our money to pay for it. It's in black and white. This is a kind of what we were dealing with, and we're going to try our best to straighten it up. The people want to know, people want answers. As long as I can give the answers, and I'm not doing anything that's not proper, the people will know what's going on. I think that's all they wanted to begin with. Thank you.
Mr. Zimmerman or Ms. Spitzer, do you want a second address before we go ahead and call for the roll?
Yes, sir. Just a few things to point out in here is that this data is from 2019, 2020, and 2021. Half of it is from 19 and 20, roughly half. So, I mean, that wasn't brought up here as part of this conversation, that this did not all occur in 2021. Also, the Bray Meyer recall, this was initiated by people from up here going to the Board of Elections, taking it to the Board of Elections when it didn't pass council. So it had to be fought here on this level in order, because people improperly took it to council to try to get it on the election, and then it had to be removed.
Why did it have to be removed for?
Because it was taken improperly, because it didn't pass.
Because there wasn't a quorum?
Correct. And you took it to the Board of Elections when it was a lack of quorum.
You mean myself and two council persons weren't a quorum?
No.
Just like the meeting that we had in the other room that you said was a quorum then?
Were they committee meetings?
Was it a quorum or not?
Committee meetings are public meetings.
Or like over at the Mexican restaurant here in town, the quorum that we had with myself and...
Sir,
point of order.
If you say there were committee meetings...
Point of order.
What's your point of order, sir?
This has nothing to do with the appropriations.
Right.
But just because things were done improperly, things have to be defensed sometimes. If they were done properly, we wouldn't have this $42,000 bill right here. So you could have taken that off.
I'm sure that these people right here that you spent $30,000 out of their wallet, they appreciate that answer. Ms. Spitzer, did you have anything else before we call for the roll?
Thank you.
Okay, if Mrs. King wants to call for the roll.
Spitzer?
Yes.
Granchi?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Okay, passes. Okay, ordinance,
And we have to read it again for the second reading.
what's that?
We have to read it again for its emergency.
Okay.
Emergency.
An ordinance of making appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures for the city of Newton Falls, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021, and authorizing the finance director to amend and file a certificate of resources to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Okay, do we need to put it back on the floor again?
So moved.
Got a second?
Second.
Okay, Mrs. King wants to call for the roll.
Granchi?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Spitzer?
Yes.
Okay, passes. Okay, ordinance 2021-26.
An ordinance advancing the sum of $85,000 to the General Fund Reserve Fund 101 to the General Fund 100 due to renovations of City Hall located at 612 West Broad Street and declaring an emergency.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second? Okay. And I'd like to see if somebody wants to make a motion to amend it to 80,000, but we need to call for a roll on that.
To make the motion to amend, yes?
I'll make the motion to amend from 85 to 80,000.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Mrs. King, you want to call for the roll for that?
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Spletzer?
Yes.
Granchi?
Yes.
Okay, it's amended. It's on the floor here for 80,000. Do we have any discussion? Okay, if no discussion, if Mrs. King wants to call for the roll.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Spletzer?
Yes.
Granchi?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Okay,
We have to do it again.
second reading.
An ordinance advancing the sum of $80,000 from the General Fund Reserve Fund 101 to General Fund 100 due to the renovations of City Hall located at 612 West Broad Street and declaring an emergency.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mrs. King wants to call for the roll.
Spletzer?
Yes.
Granchi?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Okay, ordinance passes. Okay, and make a motion to recess into executive session.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay,
Mayor Klein, I'd like to put amend that or put a motion in real quick. I'd like to have it motion to consider one or more as applicable of the following, and this is for the law director, for employment, dismissal, or discipline. I'd like to have that is the reason we're going into executive session, sir.
okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I'm sorry, who made the second?
Mr. Granchi.
Okay.
Okay, if no discussion, Mrs. King wants to call for the roll.
Granchi?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Spletzer?
Yes.
Okay, and that right there is just to amend it, right, Mr. Law Director? Is that just to amend that, or is that to go into executive? Okay, all right, so somebody wants to make a motion to go into executive
I'll
session?
make
we
that
already have
motion,
that.
sir.
We already had that.
We already have a first and second on that?
Yeah.
What's that? I can't hear.
We already.
You originally had a motion made by Granchi, seconded by Bariak to
Well,
go
that
into
was
executive
just
session.
that was to amend it and to add the law director's name on it.
No,
I'm not sure if that's a motion to actually go into executive or not.
you had,
I believe in a belt and suspenders approach.
Mhm.
So the one motion in my view is to amend, so now vote to actually go into executive session
Okay,
for that reason.
We can't hear you, Mr. Schrader, sir.
okay. All right, so all we have to do now is call for the roll to go into executive session with the information that's on the agenda added, the law director.
That's correct. What I said is I tend to use a belt and suspenders approach. So the first motion was to amend, and that passed. So now you're voting to go into executive session for the reasons listed in the amendment.
Okay, yeah, I was just asking, wanted to make sure we were doing it properly.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mrs. King, if you could call for the roll.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Spletzer?
Yes.
Granchi?
Yes.
Okay. Going into executive session. No, just the community.
Executive session, oh,
Yeah, they have second, they have public
they have
comments.
closing
And then we
comments.
adjourn. Sure. Yeah. Hey, John, you got your stuff on, or?
I'm sorry. It's all right. I'm the one who told you to hold it, and I didn't even listen to you.
All right, good. Okay, do we have a motion to leave executive session and return to regular council session?
So moved.
I'll make
second,
Okay, roll call?
Yes.
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 Okay, back to regular council.
Mayor, if I may have the floor.
You have the floor, Mr. Boriak.
On recommendation of the interim city manager, Pamela Pretty, I move we terminate the relationship between Attorney Joe Fritz as law director and prosecutor in the village of Newton Falls, and terminate his employment with Newton Falls so that we can go in a different direction on legal matters.
Okay, do we have a second on that?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
What's your point of order?
It says nothing on the agenda about taking action after coming out of executive session. This is a special meeting. We have to stick with what's on the agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I would like to appeal the decision of the chair.
Okay,
Point of order is that we have nothing on the agenda to go forward.
did you
with anything
want
coming
the
out of
floor,
executive
Mr.
session.
Zimmerman? Mr. Zimmerman, do you want the floor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you have the floor.
My point of order stands. We have nothing on the agenda to take any action on coming out of executive session. This is a special meeting. We have to stick with what's written on the agenda. We cannot do anything else.
Anybody else have any discussion?
Give me a minute.
Mr. Lundberg. Oh, man.
You have the floor, Mr. Granchi.
Mr. Schrader, are we able to take action after this, or is that an issue?
I am under the impression that your notice of this meeting did include discipline of an employee, and in fact, on the agenda, it says motion to recess to executive session, and you were going to discuss personnel matters, including employment dismissal or discipline.
It says discussion
And
only.
so long as the notice of the meeting did mention that, I believe
May I
that you
have the floor,
can
please?
go ahead and vote. And I'll research that a little more, and if need be, you may have to ratify it again, but I believe you can do it based on the fact you noticed the public.
It's
May I have the floor?
yeah, it's the way that it's always been done, that you go into executive session. Every possibility of executive session was listed on here, to consider employment, to consider dismissal, to consider discipline. Ms. Butzer, you have the floor.
I brought the public notice with me. The public notice states The Newton Falls City Council will be holding a special meeting on Monday, November 8th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Newton Falls City Hall, 612 West Broad Street, Newton Falls, Ohio 44444. The purpose of the meeting will be to discuss the city finances and take necessary actions, and to adjourn into executive session for the purpose of personnel to consider employment, discipline, and/or dismissal. It was stated in the notice.
It says to consider. Every other one in the past, when we came out of executive session, was listed on here to take action after executive session. Look up a past meeting where we went into executive session. It said upon coming out of executive session, take action if necessary. This does not list take action. This says discuss in executive session. It does not say anything to come out, does not list anything to happen once we come out of executive session. Excuse me, sir, but rules are rules. I apologize. I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize, but rules are rules. We need to stick to them. Whether you like them or not, whether I like them or not, we've got to stick to them.
Who are you referring to, myself or Mr.
Anybody
Bray?
up here that wants to move forward with this.
Okay.
That one is not written on here.
Is anybody else going to second address? I mean, I suppose you considered it, and you're going to call for the roll, and then you're going to vote. So that's how it's always been done. Ms. King, if you want to call for the roll.
Switzer?
Yes.
Franchi?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Abstain.
Okay. 3 votes, pass. Public comments, name, address, agenda items only, 3 minutes.
My name is Brad Cope, 2780 East River Road, Newton Falls. I don't know why I didn't plan. I planned to come here tonight in support of Chief Pixler. But you guys didn't say who you're dismissing. There might be people with public comments out here that want to stand up and say something positive about the law director. You guys didn't allow that. You play your games. It is so obvious. I mean, we got a new law director up here last week, sat there and said, I have no irons in the fire, and he wants the job, I think. He sat there and gave his resume on he wants a job. Well, I see that as an iron in the fire. You guys, the service you guys do, I appreciate it so much, but a couple of you guys need to do better. This town it's gone crazy. And I see power struggles and people that want their way, and they play whatever game they did to get it. And I thought it was bad before. I think it's worse now. You said we got to take this kitchen, knock it down, and rebuild it. Put it in the new cabinets. Well, the guys putting in the new cabinets don't appear to know what they're doing, and they're not going to be level, and they're not going to be square. And then what are we going to do? I don't know. That's all I got to say. This is just terrible.
Julie Lemon, 2750 East River Road. I think it's going to be refreshing to have even just an interim law director who doesn't change their mind like the wind changes direction. It's happened time and time again, and I will say that Attorney Fritz's opinion changed to benefit those he liked more than others. We've all seen it. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the YouTubes, because it's all on there. Go back and read the council minutes on the city's website, because it's on there. This town is in trouble. This is all of our homes, and it's been run in the ground by those who were more self-serving than being a public servant. I applaud council for those that voted to rid our community of this man and his wind-shifting ways. And Mr. Zimmerman, dismissal was on the paper. D-I-S-M-I-A-L.
Brenda Persino, 226 Oak Knoll, Ward 3. First of all, where was this public thing that you read, Tessa? Where was it posted? Or,
It was, Kathy King sends out the public notice.
and where does she send it to? Kathy, where can I find that public notice?
On the website? In the newspaper?
Oh, so, okay, and I'll start looking there. I thought maybe it was sent somewhere. Because this is one thing. I'm tired of having to regain a Facebook group just so I can find out what's going on in my town and then having to get off because of all the hateful crap that's in these groups. I'm getting tired of that. So I guess I'm gonna have to start looking on a website. All right. Second comment. I'm disappointed, once again. I had wrote a very lengthy letter, and I went back and forth on, should I write this letter? Should I not write this letter? Took me a long time. I wrote the letter. I had a lot of concerns in it. Some are probably valid, some are just probably, oh, there goes Brent again, she's off a rocker. But they were my concerns. Things that I take to heart. I want to know, because I'm tired of all the background noise. So I come to you. You all say, you got something, call me. Write us a letter. We'll answer it. 3 people. 3 people ain't, once again, this ain't the first time. And it makes me angry, because this is not the first time. You keep saying, right, call us. You got a question. It's not the first time. I got 3 people that answered me. Want to know what they said? Thank you for your letter. Thank you for your letter. Seriously? My concerns might be about this small. It might be about a crack on a sidewalk, but it's my concern. And when you sit up there and you say, come to us if you have a concern and we'll gladly. This ain't the first time. I have only ever seen 2 people on council that has ever answered back fully whether they were legitimate concerns, silly concerns. And you want to know who those 2 people were?
Ms. Persino,
Al Barini and Brian Kropp.
make sure that we're staying on the agenda items, okay?
I'm sorry, but that makes me angry. You all say you're transparent. You all say we're going to reach out. I included you. I included Chris, Adam, John, the mayor, and Tessa. I get a thank you from Tessa, a thank you from the mayor, and a thank you from Adam. And maybe we can consider it. But no answers to my concern yet again. Oh, and I back the chief, and you all should too.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Franchi?
Yes.
Bariak?
Yes.
Zimmerman?
Yes.
Swetzer?
Yes.
Okay, meeting adjourned.